Tim Tszyu suffers as bad a cut as you've ever seen. Fundora also looked like he had a broken nose, was bleeding profusely from the mouth and nose. Just an absolute bloodbath of a fight. It was an incredible fight. I couldn't believe Fundora did as well as he did. Nevertheless, no one cares about my opinion. What did you think, Teddy?
No, I thought he won the fight. I thought he won the fight on the scorecards, the way the fight played out. You almost want to put an asterisk next to the fight, and I'm not. But you almost want to, because there's no doubt on this planet that cut in the second round on the top of the head of Tszyu changed the course of this fight. No doubt. I thought he was possibly on his way to stopping. I know it was only 2 rounds, but I liked the way Tszyu was stepping in. He was closing the gaps, not recklessly, very patiently, closing the gaps, landed to the body, landing right hands to the head, and with power shots. He was getting in position to catch the tall, long, very tall Fundora, who was coming off a devastating knockout loss in his last fight. He was getting inch by inch, getting closer and closer to where I think he was going to do some damage. And then all of a sudden, bang, the floodgates open. Literally open with the blood. And it changed the course. I used the same words because they're the only words you can use. It changed the course of the fight. Now, I take nothing away from Fundora, what he did the rest of the way, dealing with, what the opportunity in front of him, blood everywhere. The floodgates open up with blood, and then you get an upset. Fundora, maybe it was his destiny to win a title. Him and his sister are now champions at the same time.
Yep.
She has a world title. First time a sister-brother had the titles at the same time. Just the clouds of fate, whatever you want to call it, lined up. The stars lined up. With that cut, it gave Fundora an opportunity that I don't know if he could have pulled it off under circumstances without that cut. I don't know. We'll never know. But he did pull it off. And I saw an improvement in him where he was learning to fight taller now, which was his undoing before. He's 6'7", he's 154 pounds, 160 pounds. He never fought tall. He never knew how to fight tall. He would fight inside and give you a great target to catch him, stand up in front of you, which is how he got knocked out in the fight before this. They showed that they understood that they needed to try to get better in that area. And he did. He did. He fought at a range that made sense with his long arms. He used his jab much more. He turned southpaw. He switched it up. He did it very simple, the way you should do it. He stood on the outside with his jab in the face of Tszyu, trying to frustrate Tszyu. And when Tszyu would come in 6 inches, Fundora would go back 12 inches. That's what he did. And that's how you fight tall. That is one of the really main parts of knowing how to fight tall, when you got those physical assets of height and length, which he does. He kept him on the outside. He kept Tszyu a step behind him as much as he could. And he did it pretty consistently. When the blood started, he got a little more aggressive, where he gave Tszyu some more opportunities, really, again, to catch him giving up his height. But it didn't matter, because with the blood obscuring the vision of Tszyu and bothering Tszyu the way that it did, Tszyu was never really able to maintain that offense the way he needed to. He fought a game fight. I mean, there were rounds. The rounds were simple. Every round, Fundora outworked Tszyu. It was just a matter of the rounds that Tszyu got in position to land power shots. Not more shots, but more decisive shots, more damaging shots, more telling shots, cleaner shots. And when he did, he won the round. But Fundora outworked him every round. But when Tszyu got in there to land 2 or 3 or 4 clean right hands, or a clean right hand to the body, or a clean left hook to the head, even if he was outworked 50 to 10, those rounds, Tszyu won when he landed those clean shots. But when he wasn't able to land beyond 2 or 3 of those clean shots, Fundora won a round with his jab. And he set the table for the power punch, whether it was the left hand behind the jab when he was southpaw or the right hand when he was orthodox. He set the table pretty well. And again, Fundora kept it simple. He controlled range. He used his he took advantage of his physical assets, where he kept Tszyu one step behind him, trying to get in, and countering him when he tried to get in. Here's something I thought that the commentators might have missed. Not that they did anything wrong, but they talked about the bleeding. They didn't have to. Everybody, that was self-explanatory. We saw the blood. It was terrible. But they never mentioned, it was obvious that he was being bothered by it. He was rubbing his face, trying to get the blood out of his eyes. That was obvious. And it threw him off mentally, I think. Because when it happened initially, Tszyu went from that patient guy that I thought was slowly but surely going to get to his man, to all of a sudden he had to be more aggressive, a little more reckless, a little more impatient, and he wasn't the same guy. And it was hard to get that rhythm back. He lost it. But the thing that they never mentioned, aside from the obvious that the blood was obscuring the vision of Tszyu, was the fact that he bled so long, so hard, that I wonder if it fatigued him. I wonder if it physically compromised Tszyu by losing that much blood. That would have been my question if I was sitting there in one of those seats, with a microphone in front of me. Okay, guys, we know he's compromised as far as his vision. Okay. Is he being compromised now and slowing down with his endurance on a physical level because of the loss of blood? That would have been my question. One of the other curious things that I thought was absurd was when they had, I think it was Khalid Plant's wife who was doing the sideline reporting, and she talked to the corner of Tszyu. The right thing to do, to ask him about, stopping the bleeding. And obviously he wasn't really having too much success stopping the bleeding. Now, before I go further, I know from 50 years in the business of working, I used to work all my cuts the early part of my career. I know, first of all, you got to have the right coagulants. You have to have the right medicines. And then, put some cold Vaseline over it to try to hold it and get some help that it doesn't get hit again immediately. You need a little luck too. But when it's the head, it pumps. Now, the difference from the head and the eyes, you have to worry about permanent structural damage around the eyes. But you can stop the bleeding easier. You don't have to worry about that up in the head. But what you do have to worry about is the pumping of the blood. And so for any cut man, he didn't get it stopped. You don't need Teddy Atlas or you don't need Stitch, whatever his name is, to tell you that. That's clear. But it's much more difficult dealing with the head. Having said that, I did think it was a little bit ridiculous when the sideline reporter, Khalid Plant's wife, asked the corner man, the cut man of Tszyu, what's going on with the cut? What do you think for the rest of the fight? Do you think you can, how's it look? And he says, it's a deep cut, which obviously it was, but I got the right medicines. Don't worry. I got it under control. We'll be fine. I got the right medicines. Well, it was pretty clear that you must not have had the right medicines. It was pretty clear that it wasn't going to be fine. And it was pretty clear that, it wasn't under control. Like, the evidence was pretty damning. It was pretty obvious. I mean, you're saying, don't worry, I got the right medicines. And meanwhile, the guy's bleeding like a stuck pig. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
And you're saying, well, I'd hate to see it if you had the wrong medicine. I mean, it might look like something from Reservoir Dog. At the end of the day, congratulations. I feel bad for Tszyu because of what happened, but I'll tell you one thing I don't feel bad about. I don't feel bad about getting to see the man that Tszyu is. Not only that his fortitude, and the fortitude of Fundora too, but the fortitude of him to keep fighting, to just keep at his job, keep going, even with all that loss of blood and everything else. But after that fight, for him to talk the way he did, wow, what a man. What a champ. That's a champ. That's the epitome of a champion. That is the epitome of what you call class. That is a class act. That is sportsmanship at its best. That is a man behaving like a man when he had the stage where he could have easily said, hey, guys, what was I going to do? I mean, you saw I got hit with the elbow. I ran into the elbow. It's not like it was a purposeful elbow. He ran into the elbow. That's what initiated the cut. And he could have easily stood up there, Ken, and said, hey, the way he was bleeding, normally I would have beat him. Normally I would have done this. Normally I would have done. He didn't say any of that. He didn't use any excuses, legitimate excuses, but he didn't use any of that. That man really, it's so seldom you see it that it was refreshing, that it reminded me, that's what sportsmanship is. That's what class is. That's what a champion is. He gets up there and he says, Fundora was the better man. I take my hat off to him. I congratulate him. He did a great job. And I'll be back. I mean, you talk about the humility. You talk about the honesty. You just talk about the sheer class of a man. Wow. You saw him when he's won. He's been a good winner, but now you saw him when he lost, and he was a magnificent. I won't even call him a loser. I won't even use that word. I won't. The way he behaved at the end, the way he talked, that is not a loser. That is a gracious former champion. That if it's meant to be, he'll be a champion again. Hats off to both fighters.
Yeah,
congratulations to them.